celluloid, and we're turning it into music and podcast for you.
How is everyone doing today? We are the podcast at the nexus of music, movies, and middle age. We Come From Celluloid. I'm Nicky P here with my partner in crime, Brian. As always, how are you doing today, my friend? Aside from punching me in the gut with the news that Robert Redford died. It's a weird one.
Yeah. I oddly enough, and this will happen sometimes. I remember that I was watching Robert Altman's newest film, when I got the news that Robert Altman died, and I watched Robert Redford in Tony Scott's movie Spy Game with him and Brad Pitt. It's an early 2000s movie, not a masterpiece, you know what I mean? But one I've gone back to. But I hadn't watched that movie in 20 years and suddenly got the itch to watch Spy Game Sunday afternoon. And so day before yesterday, I was watching and revisiting Redford, and that one's interesting, because I remember thinking at the time that it was these two generations of the golden gods of cinema, right? That having Redford as a mentor to Brad Pitt in that film had a passing of the torch kind of feeling to it that to me does make that movie special, aside from just being a big Tony Scott fan. But yeah, Redford, I mean, is on screen and off. I mean, the Sundance stuff that he did was, I'd say, a pretty huge part of his legacy as well. And he was, one of the last living movie stars, right? That we had. So, yeah.
I mean, he's almost like a bridge between classic Hollywood and modern Hollywood, the particular era that he's from, too. He was there for a lot of it.
I saw a movie of his not terribly long ago, where he was like a bank robber on the run. It was him and Sissy Spacek. Does that ring any bells?
Does, but I can't remember why.
Man, and I wish I could remember the title. I know it's a Google search or IMDb pull away, but and so I'm gonna look it up. But I'm thinking what was the last thing I saw him in? Was he still working late? And then I'm going, oh, I really liked that movie. Yeah, but I'll have to pull up the name of it.
Well, you did kind of actually post something though that I do often think about. And what do you think are the best passing of the torch movies?
I'll tell you one that comes to mind, but failed to live up to the promise of it. But there's a movie called The Score, which was Marlon Brando, Robert De Niro, and Edward Norton. That especially when it came out and where Edward Norton was, felt like a 3-generation sort of best and brightest coming together. But they came together for kind of a dumb movie, unfortunately.
For me, whenever I hear the term passing of the torch, I actually always think of the movie that never was for me. And it's for years, I've always wanted them to renew the Snake Plissken franchise. And
sure.
And the question was, who has the gravitas? Who has the particular flair, the personality that could possibly replace Kurt Russell? And because that character screams, stories forever. They could go forever with that character, and it always just it felt like, oh, it's too easy to do this. Boom, you put him on an adventure with a younger actor. He dies at the end. The name Snake gets taken, and the setup is just right there because the character Snake could be forever. It's just got to be an archetype more than anything.
Well, and I feel like they did even try to continue him in comic book form a little bit, to that end. But did you ever see a movie called Overlord maybe 10 years ago, 8, 10 years ago? Where it's like a World War II era. It was like a Nazi zombie movie or something. Overlord. But I remember watching that movie and going, "Whoa, this guy reminds me of Kurt Russell," right? And the credits roll, and it's Wyatt Russell, right? Who I hadn't seen previously, and it was really exciting to me of going like, oh my god, like his kids got the voice, his kids got the look. So I don't know how much time you've spent watching him on screen, but like the all the Marvel movie stuff, like he's been kind of central to he was in the Falcon and Winter Soldier series as like the new Captain America, who then like went kind of crazy from the super soldier serum, and then he was in Thunderbolts, the new Avengers, which is the spin-off. So he is kind of like, if they were ever gonna do it, they could 1,000% do it right now with him, with his boy. Yeah.
You know, it's another thing I always think of when I think of Kurt Russell is how long that guy has been acting. And I think a lot of people don't really understand how long he's because, like I think in my head I usually think of him like in the earliest, like the early '80s, him and Goldie Hawn doing all those movies like Overboard and whatever those like comedies
No,
things.
he's a little Disney kid.
Well, yeah, and then I forget like, oh no, he was the computer who wore tennis shoes back in like
Yeah.
what the '60s and stuff like that. It's like, oh my god, that dude's been at it forever.
Dude, like, wasn't he Walt Disney's like final words or something weird like that? Have you heard that anecdote?
And that triggers a memory, but I don't. It's not a very specific one.
Well, it's another Google search that I'll have to make in a moment to try to just go beyond memory. But there's some vague recollection that if not out loud, he at least wrote down the name like Kurt Russell like on his deathbed, and Kurt Russell was still a kid. He was a Disney kid that like had done work for him, but that like there was some that he was on his
All right.
mind as
This one,
he was,
I can't let pass. So,
okay.
in 1966, Russell, who'd become close friends with Disney, signed a 10-year contract with Walt Disney Production. No. Well, this was by all accounts always working, like straight up scribbling notes on the walls of movie ideas, park thoughts, and trying to improve tomorrow. On his deathbed, family said you couldn't talk up to him about anything else. His father's death only made it worse. Oh, where am I? I saw like, why did it take me to Reddit for this? This is stupid. Anyways, what I read up on like just the search was Walt Disney died from cancer in '66. On his deathbed, Walt repeatedly scribbled several things on a pad. His last words were Kurt Russell. What?
So, the AI overview says Walt Disney's last words were not Kurt Russell, but that the last thing he wrote was a note listing potential future TV projects, including the names Ron Miller, Two Way Down Cellar, Kurt Russell, and CIA. I don't know.
Interesting.
Uh huh. Uh
I mean, Kurt doesn't scream CIA to me, but
huh.
I wish the CIA was more like Kurt Russell. It'd be awesome.
The Robert Redford one, by the way, was called The Old Man and the Gun. Simple title.
Oh, that is a good movie.
Yes, and it was great. Yeah. And that was like
Good
10
lord.
years ago, so he was late 70s at the time, right? And
Well, that's
still had a twinkle in
that's
his
a
eye. Yeah.
that's reminded me of that movie that came out just a little bit ago. I think it was. It was was it Pierce Brosnan's playing like the old soldier going like back to his World War I like stomping grounds or something, and like it's just weird just saying Pierce Brosnan is clearly like an 80-year-old man, and it's 007 no more kids, that kind of thing about it, and it looked like a really cool movie for like
Was it an
you know
action film or what?
no,
Oh,
not at all.
More of a
Um,
character piece for old Pierce. Got it.
yeah.
He showed up in a little role. Steven Soderbergh put out a movie called Black Bag, Black Book
Okay.
or Black Bag. I think it was Black Bag. I saw it twice. I really liked it. I saw it in the theaters and picked it up since. I'm a big Soderbergh fan anyway. But why the fuck did I bring that up? Um, Rewind me.
I'm entirely sure you brought it up, but it is definitely. I'm looking at looking at it on Pierce Brosnan's page.
Oh yes, thank you, thank you. It was that he played the head of like the CIA or something in that, right? So it was cool to see the spy graduating to like the M role, right? The head of the agency talking to the younger spies. Thank you. Yes, it was Pierce Brosnan that.
The Last Rifleman is what I'm talking about here, and that's a World War II veteran escape. A World War II veteran escapes his care home in Northern Ireland and embarks on an arduous but inspirational journey to France to attend the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings, finding the courage to face the ghosts of his past.
I like it. If it's Irish, then he gets to use his real voice, maybe.
Well, I mean, it may be a thing at his age. You want to trip him up by making him do anything else, honestly. But it just looked like a cool movie. I'm that era I think will always fascinate me, because it's just such a it's not really that long ago when we think about it, but it feels like 100 years ago, even though it's my grandparents were there, like they were shit, that kind of thing. But like, yeah, the World War II, and like even like you know, granted, we've been our country has been at war for every single day that you and I have been alive. Um, the idea of war is just so different now, I guess, than it was back then for us. Like, there's the very dude, those dudes ran onto a freaking beach into a hail of gunfire and throwing it right back. Whereas, for us, war is a thing that happens in other countries with drone bombs, generally speaking.
Dude, the math that gets a little weird for me is like the time gap between when I was born in the 80s and World War II was 40 years, right? And so like that's like somebody today talking about the Reagan era. You know what I'm saying? Like and yeah, like those are the things that throw me a little bit where like even something like Saturday Night Live celebrating 50 years on the air or whatever, it's sort of like that's a chunk of time. That again, like that equivalent of going like, oh, okay, so even look at a 60-year time gap, right? The 1960s. I was just right before this call, I was watching my new copy of Hard Day's Night, the Beatles movie. Loving it, right? But that movie is 60 years old, okay? It's 60 years old. And 60 years prior to my being born was the roaring 20s. You know what I mean? So somebody today has the same distance to the Beatles, right? As I did to the Great Gatsby growing up. And yet they read and enjoy the Great Gatsby today. So I don't know. I guess cool shit is kind of eternal. And once the cool shit and pop culture clock started, that stuff is timeless in a different way. But it's hard to say how younger people perceive or think about that. And like, yeah, indeed, like, does it feel the same for a young person in their mind to think about the 1960s as far away as the roaring 20s felt for me? I wonder. I don't know.
How many 90s movies set in the 90s, when they do it right now, how many of them feel authentic, do you think?
I thought the Stranger Things TV show which kind of to me kicked that off, right? Did an amazing job, capturing the feel and look and stuff like that. But
Look, I know. Don't get me started on crying thinking about Eddie, man.
yeah. Well, I'm excited to see how they wrap all of that up. That's been a unique bit of storytelling, just as far as the like kid actors of it all and the challenges that's created. Like little 11 just got married recently in real life and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like
Isn't little 11 like in her mid-20s at this point?
that's my point. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, like it's
Like Dustin is playing a baby face for like he's gonna be 30 and still playing the same baby face.
yeah. Well, and that's the thing, it's fun going back and watching like a show like 21 Jump Street, for example. Like you'll get a Vince Vaughn or a Sherilyn Fenn or, Johnny Depp himself, right? Richard Grieco like came out of that show. It's always interesting to watch the arcs of things and see who ends up staying around, see who ends up getting a weird little second wind of sorts. Like, I don't know, we may have already even touched on this in a previous episode, but like Josh Hartnett has been fun to see like bubbling up again in things like Oppenheimer and Black Mirror and going like, oh, this old, wise, humble Hartnett has a different energy than the young man one did, right? Whereas I look at somebody like Sydney Sweeney and I go, I don't see a world in which I'm watching her perform in 20 years. I think she will come and go and be gone. Whereas I look at that other guy from that show,
So actually, I want to touch on that because there was somebody else I didn't realize who I'm thinking of very much. You're gonna think, oh yeah, totally live that, and it's Alicia Cuthbert. Like I was sitting there thinking about Alicia Cuthbert today because I remember in college, like, oh my god, she was the hot girl, and like she was in those things and was huge for the time. It was just huge, and then like maybe 5, 6, 8 years, nothing. But what I've been finding in more and more of like those actresses is they all go and find like nice, comfortable homes in TV, like working in like network television, like maybe not like the star, but definitely like one of the supporting roles in those shows. And I had no idea like these people were like still acting, but they're still out there doing this stuff. You just because they're not the new hotness, they're not in the same limelight, I guess. So it's interesting.
well, no, there is that. I mean, to me, the running joke was always the show Jag, right? Over the years, where, that was on the show for like 15 fucking years, man. You know what I mean? Like, and you'd see it pop up every now and again on like the Emmys or something, and you'd be like, who's fucking watching Jag and keeping this show on the air? 22, 24 episodes a year of Jag were being made. But or like when my wife would watch Shameless, which I didn't watch, but I remember I would pop in as she was watching episodes and I saw Joan Cusack and it was like, oh, is that where Joan Cusack has been? Cause like
I literally just started the first episode the other day, and I saw Joan Cusack, and I'm like, "It's fucking Joan Cusack, really?" I mean, the cast in that show is unbelievable. For the record, the American version of it, like it always amused me that William H Macy was playing a shithead, but like I don't know. Watching a TV show about white trash just reminds me too much of the area I came from, so I try not to do a lot of it. I even like I didn't finish the first episode yet because I'm like, I don't know how much of this I really need to see. I know this life. It's not something to be glorified, to say the least. But like, there's so many actors that I love now in that show that I kind of want to go and see because I know that was their start.
well, no, I think that there's on the one hand, a hot young star can help get a project made, right? So if a hot young star happens to also love cinema and they can help get financing, right? For storytelling voices that we all love. And so that's always really interesting to see. And so sometimes people end up emerging as more interesting of a talent than maybe originally suspected. Like Robert Pattinson comes to mind as a guy that was easy to dismiss in the Twilight era. But that dude went out of his way to like go to David Cronenberg, right? And sit there and be like, hey, I'm the biggest movie star in the world right now. What do you feel like doing, buddy? You know, and they made a couple movies together. And then he gets pulled into who's the guy that's making Robert Eggers, right? The Lighthouse movie. I loved that movie, right? So like I remember going on opening weekend and the Lighthouse is packed at Crocker Park in Westlake, right? Real ritzy neighborhood here in Ohio. And I'm looking around going, what the fuck? How did this little weird art movie get a packed house? And it's all young women, and I'm going, I guess they're here for Robert Pattinson. There's only two people in the fucking movie. It's him and Willem Dafoe, right?
I mean, Robert Pattinson probably didn't hurt that, but I mean, that is also a female heavy genre.
Horror in general. Yeah.
Horror is definitely like where women go. That was actually, I'm not sure. Did you watch Nate Bargatze's Emmy speech, like opening like sketch for the Emmys?
Yes.
And he makes that joke. In fact, like, who's gonna watch all these shows about murderers? My wife,
Oh, yeah,
your wife,
right.
and pretty much just everyone's wives.
Uh-huh.
But I was gonna say, I still have yet to see The Lighthouse. It's on my list for this year. But man, oh man, dude, The Witch, like where he came from, the Witch is maybe one of the most ridiculous pieces of like horror cinema I've ever watched in my life. That was unbelievable, like just so incredibly well done.
Did you watch New Nosferatu?
I have not watched Nosferatu yet. I don't watch a lot of movies when they come out just because it's expensive. It'll probably be on my list for next year to watch. but but yeah, I mean the guy I've never seen him do anything that's been bad so far. And like they always talk about like the Lighthouse, like his portrayal of madness, and that is just really, really interesting. And that's the type of horror that I tend to gravitate to in general. You know, like the Sam Neill at the Mountains of Madness, like watching people unravel. Like that's the best kind of horror. That's real horror to me.
But he's got a sense of humor too. You know what I mean? Like
Oh, absolutely.
he's got enough of a dark comic touch. And that movie in particular makes me laugh out loud. The Lighthouse is hilarious.
I'll go as far as to say, like, even as like bleak and depressing as The Witch was, oh, there's little jokes in that thing. Do not you be dissuaded. Like, a lot of the shit that had to do with the goat in that movie was completely like, oh, he's just sticking his tongue out over here. Like, it's funny.
Jacob Elordi, who's even hosted like SNL at this point, is he's one of the guys from Euphoria that I saw in that movie Saltburn, and then I saw him play Elvis. And then maybe something else, but like that'll happen sometimes where like that kid Will Poulter is another one where like I'll see somebody in a bunch of things back to back and suddenly they get credibility for me where it's like, no, this is somebody that could be like a really great part of my of cinema for the next 10 or 20 years. And
Will Poulter's weird because like Will Poulter to me was literally just a kid in a meme for a long period of time.
what, for looking like Sid from Toy Story?
I guess is that what it's? Well, he's the kid that does the. It's from him. I think it's from him. The movie The Millers. Like he makes a face in it or something that's just ridiculous. But he from that all of a sudden like he's this freaking jacked dude in fucking playing not a great version of the character, but playing Marvel superhero. You know.
Oh yeah, right. Uh, Adam Warlock, right?
Yeah, he played a crappy Adam Warlock, but I don't get me wrong. I like him. I liked him playing that role, playing a role. But to me, that's definitely not the character from the comics. It's just this. thing that's meant to look similar to the character. I don't know. I don't know what the hell they were thinking, but I did like him in the movie because it's just his personality was funny and fun, and it fit well into the context of the movie. It's just like you could have gave him another name or something. I don't know, like pick some other crappy character nobody knows.
Well, and I do assume, and like I think not being an asshole probably helps too, right? Like that the more I think people let the talent and everything go to their head, um like a guy like Val Kilmer, like from all accounts, was just so difficult to you know what I mean, engage at a certain point that people just stopped wanting to work with the guy. That Edward Norton, as talented as he is somebody that like seems to frustrate his collaborators to the point where they are willing to overlook the talent and be like, dude's just too much of a fucking handful, and people don't always want.
I was watching a reel the other day, and I can't remember what actor it was. They're talking about like working with one of those like crazy method. Oh, it was the guy who played Biff. He was talking about working with the original Marty and how like he would,
Oh, Eric Stoltz.
yeah, and he's like in a certain point like, hey guy, it's just a movie. It's a con. We're trying to have fun here. Stop being such a douche. Like,
Because didn't he hit him for real or something like that? Yeah.
oh, something he was going to is what he says at the end of that, and he's like, but that you also have to think about like the actors that like don't really seem to have suffered from that. Like I'm in my head, Christian Bale is notoriously fucking terrible to work with, but like Christian Bale finds work. I don't. Is it maybe a thing where he's executive producing all of his stuff?
Yeah, I know, but doesn't it seem like his star diminished too? Christian Bale's not really. I don't know. I feel like Christian Bale had a moment where he was really on a roll and extremely considered very bankable. And yes, he is so talented that people do still hire him. But like, yeah, I think that stuff did hurt him. You know what I mean? In terms of like people wanting to, yeah, engage with them. Like, I don't know. I'm looking to see what the last like. I liked Vice, but Vice was almost 2018. His Dick Cheney movie was really good. Did you ever see that one?
I have not. It looked really freaking funny. I have a lot of emotions tied up into that era of politics, though. So God knows what I'd do with that.
It's also one of he's collaborated with Amy Adams like 3 times maybe at this point between the Fighter and American Hustle, which I love that movie and their dynamic in.
And I guess it's nothing. Like he's been someone who's super willing to transform himself into a role in sometimes very unflattering ways that always astounds me. Like he will just shoot. He like the American Hustle being one of them. Like he's such a fucking skeezy looking dude in that movie, and he runs with it.
But man, don't forget, much like Kurt Russell, he's another.
Disney kid, Newsies, man.
Yeah, Newsies, man. I saw Newsies in the theater. All right, I knew Christian Bale as a kid. I had a neighbor who loved his musical theater and absolutely wanted to see Newsies on opening day.
I don't know that I would want to see it in music. I do love it though.
The Empire of the Sun, the Spielberg movie was excellent. Empire of the Sun was even earlier than that,
Wow.
where he's at the prisoner of war camp.
Yeah, but yeah, dude. I mean, while we're thinking of like long kind of like careers and stuff like that, I'm gonna focus back on a short career. Not that it was short when you really think back to how much the guy did in it. Um, Because I'm bringing it up because we mentioned it the other day. We were talking about Colin Hanks and the drive to our most recent gig, and I'm not a big fan of Colin Hanks. Like at a certain point, I liked him, and then I don't know, I stopped liking him for some reason. Um, but him and Ryan Reynolds, like he's directing, Reynolds produced a new documentary on probably I might say my favorite human that's ever existed, and that's on John Candy. And I'm overly excited to see this documentary because, like, I've watched a lot of documentaries on the guy, but so many of them have not had access to the people that they have access to make this particular documentary because it's Colin Hanks. And I'm really excited to see what like some of the people have to say about like having worked with him, in like more detail, and I've gotten to see them talk about it before.
Yeah, I mean, so when you say, favorite humans, like that again extends beyond farmers. Like,
Well, by the way, dude, like we're the age he was when he died. Right now,
did he put out a biography or something else that you felt like got to know him beyond his screen persona?
no, he's just someone I've seen people talk about a little bit here and there throughout that.
A lot of fucking warmth. Yeah, no doubt.
Well, and that's the thing is because so much of his on stage persona was that. I mean, dude, fucking, I can't watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles without breaking down to this day because he plays that character so raw and like so incredibly like moving that you're like, it's barf. What's barf doing to me here? But there's
Do you know the movie Career Opportunities?
it sounds familiar. What era is that?
That's early 90s. It's a John Hughes script, and it's Frank Whaley and Jennifer Connelly holed up in a Target overnight together.
Okay, definitely not seen it.
But John Candy has like a 5 minute, scene stealing role where, again, it's just like his sweetness is palpable, right? Like, yeah.
And that was like because I'm talking to Liz, and it's like, okay, so it's one thing like with there's the '80s kids, and yeah, Uncle Buck and all that stuff. But dude, I want you to think about this. He had how many moments of screen time in Home Alone, and he walks away with that movie. Like him playing that the freaking that like that dude that he plays driving in the back of a van from one city to another for the polka group. Like just that little role, and I've never heard anyone kind of do anything to discredit that that's exactly who he was in real life. Like he's acting to a certain degree, but he's mostly just channeling who he was as a human being in those roles. He's just such an empathetic person that like he carried that wherever he went.
Was he part of the SCTV group as well?
Oh yeah, dude, some of his best stuff was on the old SCTV stuff. He's ridiculous.
I remember that there was a video like greatest package at the library, and
Do you remember him in Stripes? Like,
yes, no, I've definitely seen Stripes a bunch, but SCTV is one where like I should look and see if one of the streamers just has like the full run or something. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's a lot of great talent from there. I've seen a greatest hits package that I remember renting over and over again from my local library on VHS growing up. But
one of my favorite moments in a movie, and I got right now, I can't remember what it is, but it's him and Eugene Levy are in this movie together from like the early '80s, and all I remember is like I think he plays a drummer in a band in the movie, but there's this scene where like he's in the background like playing on a drum kit with headphones on and singing. It's just the image of him like mediocrely playing the drums, like singing falsetto in the background. It's the funniest damn thing in the world to me. I don't know why.
I love it.
And I think so much of this is because it's like a guy who was so incredibly funny. But then, like, dude, you get those moments, like, say in Uncle Buck, where he tells that woman he's gonna rip that wart off her face and give it to a rat to gnaw, and like, it's funny, but at the same time, like, I wouldn't fuck with the dude either because you can see, like, God, he's carried something with him. Uh, But anyways, I just really wanted to gush. Like it is weird to me to think about that dude died when he was 43, and you look back on the breadth of what he accomplished, and you know, to a certain degree, I feel like he almost accomplished as much as a Christian Bale did in half the time.
He created some performances that have lasted longer than he was alive and performing at this point, just about, right? So yeah, that's its own sort of amazing bit of legacy and eternity to manage, in parts great or small, to be captured on screen in that way. Is yeah, it's just an interesting sort of, I don't know, locked in time, locked in amber kind of thing that is cool to observe. I'm gonna run. I asked if we could start a little earlier today because I'm going with my family to see Spinal Tap 2. So just to set up for a future conversation, I'm going to see the Spinal Tap sequel in about an hour and a half. So I've got big expectations, you know.
All right, Brian, let's bring things to an end here. You've got to run. I got to run. Life is on the run. We can take it on the run, perhaps. But for all you out there, take it easy.